Are we live?
We are live.
Excellent. So we are at the Finance Committee meeting, and it is 9:07 on July 18th, and everyone is present. I don't think we need to do a roll call at this point. Present at the meeting is Jim Harper, Trustee Harper, Trustee Cranker, and Trustee George, and Clerk Green. All right, so there's our roll call section. Diving into our sales tax report. This is something I think I emailed out to all the trustees before. Just wanted to see if there were any questions on it. I wanted to give the update that I have training tomorrow with the Department of Revenue to try and distinguish our accounts from local versus remote. So that might take a little bit to get that training and to figure out how to incorporate that into kind of our daily report or our weekly and monthly reporting. But that's kind of where we're headed with that. It looks good. We are looking good with sales tax, but this is only May at this point. So I do want to caution everyone that we don't want to get too excited. And that's kind of why I was pretty conservative with those compensation adjustments too, to make sure that we would be able to cover everything if we were under budget.
And it sounds like from what you said, we're trending similar to others in the area.
Yeah, so URA provided their sales tax report to me, very similar to what we're experiencing. And it's interesting, Lake City is actually flat in sales tax right now. So we expected that they might be up more, but they're not at this point. They're flat. So yeah, it seems pretty similar to the area.
And I think, again, what's interesting to me is that we are down from 2021 numbers, which was like an anomalous banana time.
I don't think we could have sustained that.
And so we're not down compared to 2019, which we thought was a more reasonable.
Correct. We're actually up 230,000 since over what we budgeted, and that was 10% of less than 2019 numbers.
Great. Interesting.
Yeah. And then little areas like we just did our actuals, and I didn't put them in here yet because I wanted to review them prior. But areas like our planning review fees, those are up, but then lodging tax is slightly down. So those will be presented at the next meeting to kind of give you guys an idea.
Like in more detail.
Mm-hmm.
Can I ask a question? Because I'm new to all this, so you guys can educate me. So if we have surplus, we by voter decision, we have right to keep the surplus.
Actually, yes. So we already have, so we've technically been debruced. So Tabor restricts any kind of surplus that you get over your budget. And we have been, we went to, I think that was in 98, we were debruced, or 2002. And we found documentation that we have the ability to keep those revenues. And we can spend those revenues within this budget as long as we don't go over the excess revenues that we had appropriated.
Gotcha. Yeah. Or we don't have to spend them and they can go into reserve.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions on sales tax?
Yeah, I do have a quick question. You
Can
had
you turn him up?
mentioned.
I'm sorry, Jen, you were quiet. I'm turning you up. Okay, go ahead.
Hey, thanks. You had mentioned that hotel room tax is down.
Yeah, and typically what we've seen is that a lot of people don't pay those until they either pay them quarterly or at the end of the year too. So that's really when we do our final push, is at the end of the year. So we don't really have a good idea on what that means as far as how our hotels are doing at this point. It's just that they haven't paid us our lodging fee yet.
So when did that become optional to pay quarterly or at the end of the year?
Matt?
I just know that I don't start bugging people about it until they're 90 days late. So don't worry about it quarterly.
Do we want to make it better?
It's a monthly fee.
Right, it is a monthly fee.
Monthly. And
Do we
then
want to
there's
make
late
more of an
penalties
effort?
incurred.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just thinking of additional revenue for the town. If folks aren't paying on time, then there should be late penalty fees and whatnot.
Yeah, at least, at least it'll keep our books more current. It's easier
agree.
for us, easier for us to see, what actual numbers rather than hoping that.
I can look into the legalities of penalties and fees if you'd like me to.
Would it
I don't wanna
also, go ahead, Jim.
No, I don't want to add additional to the plate, but I just,
Oh, yeah.
for some folks that are held accountable all the time, and when they don't, they get hell brought down upon them, and others don't. And I don't. And then my other point was with regards to tax revenues and revenues pouring in all around the different municipalities. I think we need to take into account the fact that not necessarily visitorship to the town or county is higher. It's the fact that everyone has had to raise their prices across the board. When folks raise their prices, of course you're going to collect more taxes on those prices. I'm going to pick on Ken Bowden for a second. If you go and look at his menu, he's taken a Sharpie and Sharpied right through the prices and added a new price right next to it in Sharpie. And if you do the calculations, you can do it on your phone, it's 27.4%.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa.
And that's and I'm using that as an example because a lot of folks, a lot of business folks around town are using that as an example to where to set their benchmarks. So it's not necessarily that we got more folks in town or that we don't have more folks in town. It's that our revenues, our town tax collection, which essentially is a revenue, is being pushed by the fact that prices are much higher around our community, and those prices are being passed along to the customer and the consumer.
Did you all read the article in the Durango Herald this morning?
Yeah. Oh, wait, this morning?
Yeah, this morning's article just touched on exactly that. Jim, did you read that article?
I have not.
Oh, I suggest you all read it. It is, and it talks about, especially with the Durango businesses, the restaurants and how much they've had to increase their prices. And what's that done? So it's very timely for our discussion.
It's just information that we should keep in the back of our head.
Yeah.
Yes. Well,
To
and
better understand what's driving these numbers.
for sure. And inflation has to be one factor to explain the picture. And I think remembering that we also, as the town, with our purchasing power, we face inflation for a lot of the things we do too. So it's definitely a relevant contributor.
The only other, I'm sorry, Jim, are you?
Oh no, I'm crying, sorry.
Oh, okay. The only other thing I wanted to point out was this March collection.
Mm-hmm.
So that's for February, really, right? Because we're 2 months in.
Correct, yes.
It's really an outlier.
The 81,000 versus the previous year,
Yeah.
46.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, really.
But what happened in February though?
Well, we had ski juring back, but we had ski juring in 2018, 2017. I mean, this is just.
But ski juring was.
Well, we went to.
We did not have winter events for 2 years due to COVID, and then also due to that incident with the horse.
Yeah.
I mean, I will tell you that I had 0 room sales for 2 years because it was not beneficial to even remotely open in February. And then this past year, I had almost 400 rooms sold in February, which is unheard of.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But I mean, but looking even at past years when we did have ski juring, like back in 2017 and 2018, it's still, but it's increased by a factor of 4. I mean.
It has. And look at the special events that our community has built around that, which is smart. Our community is using this.
Well,
Good stuff.
yeah, it's awesome. I like it. I'm just, hopefully we can keep that up.
Yeah.
We had back-to-back special events in the area because we had snow down and ski joring, then snow skate.
And the bike race wide out.
And a lot of
Yeah.
I mean, is there anything else that you think explains it? Was there any timing based again on when people paid or what numbers came in? I mean, it's like we can look at this number and we think we know, but is there anything else to explain that crazy March or that crazy February?
People are getting more packages sent in.
I would like to look at that February and then try and make the January and December the same. Because that's awesome. And if we can get special events and even get close to those numbers for the other months, then that's what we should be, I think, trying to do. Because
I agree. Tyler gets 2 of those.
Really, it's, it would be great if we could even get close to that sort of percentage change in the months that are around it.
Yeah.
I can try and do a deep dive into February as well and see if there's any kind of, if there were late payments at all too, to.
Right, if everybody was like, all, we haven't paid our lodging, we haven't paid this tax, we haven't paid
Kind
that.
of what was explaining it, yeah.
Right, and maybe it's just, it was just all our events, which would be great.
Mhm.
Well, and
I
even
hope it
thinking
is.
about the year Silverton Mountain had, like was snow good, was snow not good, that's our key winter
Exactly.
tourism. I'm just kind of, it's curious to get a few more years of data, but it is interesting to think about how busy they were. Obviously, they don't all release all that information, but just thinking about what was going on in town and with the mountain.
Yeah. And we also had that snowboard event too. I'm just realizing, wow.
Yeah.
it had
The bank
Yes,
slalom.
they saw
a
it.
ton of events.
He's trying to do that every year now. I
Mhm.
was working with him with the ambulance and he said he's going to try and come back every year. So
Great. That's awesome.
Yeah, I agree, Tyler. I'm glad you pointed that out because it's just such a wait, what was happening then?
yeah,
All right. Are we good on sales tax?
Thank you, Gloria.
Yeah. Okay, so the next one is my draft budget timeline that I printed out or that I put in your packets. This includes in this timeline is our finance committee meetings and what we'll be discussing during through the budget process. It includes our nonprofit request schedule. So when we'll be announcing, when we'll be getting those back. It also includes those hard deadlines like October 11th and November 1st, and then I'll have to get everything in by the 15th of December. And an idea for a citizen engagement portion of the budget. So thinking about this idea of priority-based budgeting and kind of how to get our citizens more involved in our budgeting process. And this is something I laid out in one of my administrator goals as well, is doing more education and outreach to the community regarding our budget. I think Compass Project has set us up for this really well, because now everyone's kind of trained to be able to come into these sessions and brainstorm and be open-minded and kind of help prioritize projects. I think we can go off of that momentum and have a couple of, well, one for sure, kind of a state of the town address of like where we're at, and then some potential projects down the way, and then leaving it kind of open for, so that would be one section of this, which we would, record on YouTube, kind of push out there. So if people didn't come, we would push this information out. And then from there, we'll have identified projects within each department, where citizens can come to town hall and vote on those prioritized projects. So it would be in the atrium here. We'd have them set up and they would come to the front desk to get a little thing of money. So like little fake money where they could go. And so the idea is that, not tourists can do that because they would need to come in and ask for their allotment and then be able to prioritize those projects. And hopefully this gives us as a finance committee an idea of where we where citizens want to spend their money. It gives us an idea about that. And it gives the trustees an idea of like where they're focusing on. So some of the project ideas could be like parks and recreation. We have the ballpark, skate park, like stuff like that we can incorporate in there, and they can really help us prioritize those projects. And then if we were to go with like public works, we could do street signage, wayfinding, kind of stuff like that. We can't really have them prioritize our wastewater treatment plant, but or our water plant.
As long as it's unofficial, that way, like, oh, the best example is that they opened up the naming of that research ship in England to a public vote, and the public decided to name it Bodie McBoatface.
Yep.
Which I love, but also sometimes these unofficial sort of votes, you might have to see money go to something that's maybe not right.
Right. And that's kind of why I wanted to do it in person in town hall. And I mean, we can do an online one, but I wouldn't weight it on the online one because those can get skewed really fast.
Yeah.
But if we could do something just like where people could stop by town hall and do their vote that way, I think that might be better. And then we encourage them to watch our State of the Town beforehand.
Yeah.
It encourages, well, I don't know, does it encourage that vocal minority that's really going to show up, or does it encourage broad engagement if it's in person? But I think it brings a level of like commitment to show up in person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm open to ideas on this too. This is kind of my first stab at it, and was just thinking like this would be kind of a good way to start
I think
the process. Okay.
Have you seen or heard it done successfully other places?
Yes. And so we did something similar in Durango, in our multimodal department, where we invited people. It was at a brewery, because we always entice people with beer, and it worked. So we took them to Carver's, and we had all these projects up. We gave them money, and they were able to help prioritize it, but it was more of like a workshop feeling. And so we could structure it that way too, where we don't leave it open in town hall, but I wanted to make sure that everyone kind of got a chance, so it wouldn't just be one night that you had to make it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people can make it to town hall, so I'm thinking that might be the best place to do it in the atrium.
Possible to do both, to do like one kickoff, get some enthusiasm and energy, and then leave it open afterwards?
Yeah, that's the plan.
Yeah, okay.
It's like
Gotcha.
one kickoff, stay
Yeah.
in town, this is what we're doing, come in, get your, help us prioritize these projects, and then go into like, okay, now it's just open until October 12th.
Gotcha, okay.
And then we can get all the information and present it to you all.
really encourages engagement.
Yeah.
Great idea.
I think people would really go for it. And I mean, people want to feel like they're engaged, and the budgeting process is the key way that we determine priorities in our town. And so if people want to care about what is happening in town, this is the time.
Mhm.
So I think engaging them in that process is really great.
Awesome. Okay.
So just so I'm clear, so the state of the town and that meeting would be one meeting.
Yeah, so I called it like a open house and a state of the town. But I could reword that like budgeting workshop so that people really know what it's about. And then giving kind of a similar presentation, a little bit simplified from what I had given you all at your retreat. And then being able to go into like the workshop and explain the workshop from there.
I like using I liked your use of the words priorities, because I think when people think budgeting, they think like, oh, I don't know anything about finances or town budgets or whatever. I'm not, but talking about, well, what are priorities for town?
And that leads me into my next topic. That was a great segue. So that leads me into my next topic is priority-based budgeting with Resource X. And so Resource X is a priority-based budgeting software company. So they help, basically priority-based budgeting takes your budget, your traditional line item budget, and breaks it out into programs. And so if you think about trying to create efficiencies within a program, it's a lot easier than just looking at a line item budget and cutting numbers. And this is something that I have been geeking out for a long time on as far as how to really explain your budget and have it kind of like anyone could look at it and be like, okay, I see you guys have a snow plowing budget, right? And so instead of like slashing gas for that, maybe we need more equipment, or you're able to evaluate the program more efficiently than just looking at a line item budget. And if you think of how long we've been doing line item budgets and it's just the go-to, everybody says, yes, we just do line item budgets, but there's so much more value, I feel like, in presenting it in programs and like thinking about just even our utility mailing or utility program. And then you think about the mailing, and then you think about the postage, and you think, okay, do we need that much postage? Do we want to go to, and I think that's what happened in the past was we went to every other month, like that helped save us on the postage, and people get to, you know, so people still get the service. So that's something, I don't know. Did you all have any questions on the agenda that I gave you as far as what priority-based budgeting is, Resource X, and then I'll go into Resource X. So do you have any questions on priority-based budgeting?
Nope.
I think one question I have is, I really like this idea about how it groups things into bigger buckets and priorities. I think it could help people see where we're spending our money better, help make our budget a bit more digestible to folks. I wonder, is there any loss in transparency when people don't see line items?
And so we'll still have a line item budget.
Kind of within the program?
Yep. Yeah, and we'll have a, like, because that's what we have to turn into the state as well. So that's what they require. So we use our line item budget to put into these priorities. So it is like an extra step. It is more work. I will be completely honest with that.
Extra work.
I'm a little nervous about it. I'll be 100% like transparent on that one. I am a little nervous that I have enough time. What I do like about this program is that it helps us organize everything. And Matt and I are always trying to find better ways to organize our finances and how to kind of report on them. So when we took we took an introductory course on this, and what we saw the benefit was this could really help us organize everything into like a digestible format, really. Did you have any thoughts, Matt, that you wanted to add on that?
Another thing that I thought was a very good, big pro of this program is just how it made it to where we had to sit there and go through our finances fine-tooth comb. With a lot of the turnover the town's been facing over the years, there's a lot of kind of accounts that are being miscoded and just things just haven't been done to the finances to make the books just clean. Not clean in like a corrupt way, but clean as just like organized and tidy. It's more of a scavenger hunt than it needs to be. And so I think, this would just be a good motivator to have us, go through everything with a fine-tooth comb, get the, rooms all tidied up, and then go from there with a much more organized and streamlined budgeting process. So it's more of a load to work on the front end to have things a lot easier in more skill.
So we see the long-term benefit of it is where I'm getting. It is going to be a lot to initiate. Ideally, I would have said, let's start this next year, like just starting to organize the budget with these priority based that we can do in-house with the town. But then if we were to go for a program like this, that would be, maybe next year or the year after. But they have this really good deal right now that's like $5,000 to get into this program, and then you stay at $5,000, which it's hard to pass up. It's hard to say, okay, we can wait a couple of years and pay $10,000 to do that.
And it's $10,000.
And then it's $10,000 every year. And this program's really unique. They kind of designed it with really small communities in mind. And so thinking about having other small communities that you can kind of talk to and partner with, and you go through the whole training process together as a cohort. And so you're able to ask, I'm trying to get Ridgeway involved as well. So Ridgeway and I could be like, well, what are you doing in this area? Oh, that's interesting. You know, and we can really learn from each other. And I really like that idea of being able to learn and go through these processes together. But so there's 10 spots available for this cohort. They have tentatively like reserved us just because I expressed interest, but it would ultimately be up to you all if we wanted to go forward with this. So I guess I would say I'm really enthusiastic about it. I'm nervous that I don't have the time, but I don't know what other time to do it at this price. Jim?
Hey, thanks. Who are the other small communities?
Well, I don't know yet. So we would sign on and find out in August. I know they have some more space available. And so that's why I was trying to get Ridgeway involved so we could because they were interested. So I'm trying to see that, but I don't know yet.
All right, because the examples provided, they're like huge cities.
Right. Yeah, and that's the thing is they've only been able to get these big cities. And so that's why they're doing this program is to try and make it more accessible for smaller communities.
And then two other points. One, and I think you already touched on this, was implementation and the time of year to implement. Is this the time of year to implement in the middle of the year?
No, so this would be us getting organized this year and next year we would implement it.
Right. And then this is just adding another layer to the process. I can see it on your face. And again, I think you touched on this as well. I know that staff time is important. And I guess entering all this into this system takes time. Does the benefits outweigh?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, $5,000. I mean, I think we could eat $5,000 and be okay with it. But your time is valuable. Matt's time is valuable. Knowing that this just adds another layer to the process. Is this something that we really want to do? And if you do, then right on.
No, and we are completely on the fence on this. So like Matt and I talked about it and we're like, this is awesome. Like this would be a great program. I don't know if this is the time, but at this price, we're kind of like,
We enroll in the program this year and
Right.
let it sit dormant until next year. I mean, I know it would be a waste of $5,000, but we still save money on the back end.
Yeah.
right. Like if they would have a cohort next year. I think the idea though is really to get the communities together through the whole process.
Right.
Yeah.
And everybody at once.
Right.
This is why I sit next to T. He's so smart.
Is
there any way, okay, so like when budgeting this way, I've heard you talk about as a direction you'd love to go at some point. And it seems like hearing from Matt, it brings us some efficiencies in the long run, even though there's the upfront work. And we have this kind of special deal right now that's kind of pushing the time frame. Is there anything we could talk about that we could deprioritize? If all of a sudden this becomes higher priority, is there any direction or anything that would be helpful to say, hey, you know what, this was priority, but this opportunity has come up and we'd really like to shift things? Or are you just layering it on, Gloria?
I'll be completely honest. I do get excited about things and probably take on more than I should. And I'm trying to be better about that. Matt knows this.
Or maybe that's just something to reflect on. Is there
Yeah.
anything that we could deprioritize for you, or you
Right.
do deprioritize that we said was really important, but this scenario has changed?
And if it's a lot of data entry, right? Because they just need, the program's going to clean it up. We've got to input everything.
Mm-hmm.
We just need is there a way that we can hire a temporary worker and just be like, you're just going to do data entry because data entry is not important enough for you.
Right. Right.
someone that's really skilled at Excel files that they're gonna get, or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But if your guys are going through the training, yeah.
Another thing I was thinking with the timeline is a lot of the timeline for a lot of the organization to be done is when I'm gonna be at home on my parental leave anyway. So could.
You're supposed to just be on your parental leave. I keep telling him like, no, you're not working.
You stay friendly with Matt.
For the cold, like this done.
I mean, I think Matt and I could pull it off. I know we could, actually. I'm pretty confident we could pull it off. But it will be a stretch for us. But the opportunity for the town is difficult to pass up. That's where I'm at. And if we do pass it up, that's fine. Like, I think we can still continue with like these workshops, see how they go, and kind of do our kind of own priority-based budgeting without the software. Like, it's not to say we're not going to involve the citizens. We're not going to do priorities. We're not going to look at our line items as programs. Like, we're still doing all of that. I think the biggest attraction is the organization that this would provide for us, the networking with other communities on how they do things, and then and the cost. Those
This
are kind of the
tool. And so right now we're deciding, do we value this tool?
right.
And do
Use
you
it.
want to put the upfront work in to have this tool?
Mhm.
I mean, if you want to do it and if you guys think that you can do it, I totally support it. That's where I stand on most of these things.
Okay.
Just keeping in mind.
We want to
We
recruit,
don't-
retain staff.
Yeah, we don't want you to burn out because there's too much.
No, the problem is that I think it could be really fun. I didn't want to say that.
Perfect.
It could be really fun. Like, it could be, it could maybe help us in the future too with our scavenger hunts that we have to do for every line item, which is driving us nuts, right?
We'll save time. And
Which will eventually save us tons of time.
Yeah.
I mean, we keep saying 2023 is going to be a breeze after all this.
Well, if you set up good systems and processes, it does help you.
Yeah.
But it takes work to do that. So.
Mhm.
Jim, do we need to protect them from themselves?
Always.
I do get excited about this stuff, so.
See, when someone says they get excited over spreadsheets and accounting, you got to protect them from themselves.
yeah.
Real crazy.
No.
No, I'm all for it. I think it's great.
And thanks for letting us talk this through with you guys too. Matt and I have been talking back and forth, and it's been a hard, like, well, we're going to do it. Okay. We want to do it. And so, yeah, we wanted to chat with you guys kind of about it. And actually now talking to you guys, I realize that maybe it is the route we want to go.
I
Feel more excited about it as we talk about it.
I know.
Well, that's probably a good sign then. I still think I just like encourage you to see, are there other things since this opportunity has come up that you can say, you know what? We can put that on the back burner. And I don't know what that is, but
I'd have to look at my goals and priorities from there, and see what we could put on the back burner. I am excited to get more capacity here with a housing coordinator, to be able to help with that whole portion, which I've been taking on.
Yeah.
And then I was just informed that our community development coordinator will be staying on with us. Originally, she had just signed on for the summer, but she's going to try and find a place to live here. I think we found one for her, and stay on with us full time.
this is Lucy.
Yeah,
Great.
that's Lucy. So.
I think another thing I like about this opportunity, it just seems like the timing is a little tricky, is that it brings organizational, like institutional infrastructure. And
Yes.
it makes it easier so that when someone new, if we have turnover, I mean, this tool seems aligned with our goals. So I think that's why it's easier to say yes to. But again, we want to recruit and retain staff. So we don't want you guys to get burned out.
Well, and if I mean, we're excited about it. It's hard to
Yeah.
burn out when you're really excited about something.
Great.
And again, I just kind of look at it in the same view of just like, all right, here's these disorganized file cabinets that nobody's gone through in years. So, but in the front end work to actually get those file cabinets organized makes it so much less effort to find anything. Just every other task becomes that much more efficient behind it.
All right, I guess we'll go forward with this one. Ed, yeah, I think this is going to be a really cool tool for our community. It's going to revolutionize, I don't want to say that.
It's gonna blow.
It's going to revolutionize budgeting here. Great. All right, we'll stop geeking out about budget stuff. Okay, so we covered the priority-based budgeting with Resource X, and this is something I'll bring to the whole board too, so that you all know where we're headed and what we're doing. And with Resource X, the resources that we get from that too, not only with the networking, but also with the programs that we'll be able to create from it. Going on, I think we have one more thing on our agenda here. Oh, yeah, a couple more things. So Matt, I'll let you take over from here with the Department of Revenue.
Okay, this one's a bit weird to explain. Back in January, the Department of Revenue contacted us about unpaid taxes for Mullis during the winter and Kendall during the summer, which just threw red flags of that just doesn't make sense why we'd have any numbers for Mullis during the winter. So it turns out that I think the assumption might have been that for individuals, if you don't make any money, you don't have to report taxes, just as an individual basis. But municipalities still do, even if that business has been shut down during that quarter. So there were a lot of years where taxes were not filed for Mullis during the winter or Kendall during the summer because we don't have those funds really operating during those seasons. And so the Department of Revenue had decided to use prior tax returns when those those facilities were operational to estimate the taxes the town owed the state. And so it was like basically giving numbers of, oh, well, you've got lodging taxes due for Mullis of December of 2017. That matches, what we would have with camping in July, which is impossible in many ways. So went through a lot of those filings, amended them to show the accurate revenues. And long story short, I was able to clean up about 2 decades worth of unfiled stuff and save the town about $30,000 in tax liabilities.
Outstanding.
Now, we did have to pay some taxes, but not to the extent that they were trying to, like that they were billing us for it.
They wanted a
Yeah,
1,000 or several. Yeah.
It was somewhere in the order of $50,000 to $60,000 that the state was thinking that we owed them, and ended up paying them only $22,000 to change.
Nice.
Good.
and that was a lot of work. That was one of Matt's first projects that I gave him because I looked at it and had 2 meetings with the Department of Revenue, and it was complicated. It was very complicated. And even the Department of Revenue was scratching their heads. I don't know how many meetings you did with them, but
Good 5 or 6.
yeah.
So you are getting those file cabinets in order already.
Yeah, this is what's going on in the back end. Yeah. So now we're currently exploring Kendall's sales tax because they had charges for lodging tax there. So this is all Mullis right now and now. Oh, you did Kendall.
Also got Kendall.
Excellent.
So as of now, the only taxes that have not been filed was Q2 of this year for Mullis, which is still July. So I've still got until the 31st as far as the state's concerned. And I'm trying to have that all buttoned up for the check room the next board meeting.
That's great. Yep, cooking with gas.
Mhm.
We say in our house.
cleaning house. Great. Any questions on that one? All right, and then, Matt, do you want to do the update on the audit?
Sure. So, basically the auditors gave us a nice 40-item deliverable checklist. And Christine, our accountant, and I have about 40 out of those 46 items turned in. There's a few things we need to turn in for their kind of random checks where they look for certain invoices and so forth and certain contracts. So getting a little bit of more scavenger hunting for that, but we should have all the documentation done for them by Wednesday and hopefully have field work next week so you can have the audits buttoned up by the end of the month.
And it is due to this date by the 31st. Otherwise, we would need to file an extension like we did last year.
31st of July.
Yeah.
And again, I'm new. Do we do an audit every year?
Yes. And this year we're using a new auditor, so it's taking a little bit more time. And also last year, there was a lot of turnover in 2021 with an administrator and a clerk. So it's been a little bit more of a process to try and find everything.
It's huge.
There hasn't been a consistent organizational theme between turnovers.
That's, yeah. I've got two yearly audits with the ambulance and starting from scratch is, yeah. I feel for you guys. It's a lot.
And one that we're trying to break.
What's that?
I said in a cycle that we're trying to break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's where we're at with our audit. Hopefully by the 31st. If not, it's not a big deal to file an extension to September. We'll definitely have it done by September. It's just kind of in our auditor's hands at this point.
This is a lot of great work, guys. Thanks.
Yeah, and I didn't put on there, but I want to always put on there for futures, any new business or any other topics to discuss that you all have for us. Jim?
I'm going to jump back really quick. And this is one that everyone can put their thinking cap on because I just don't recall. I'm looking for our notes from back in, I think it was November. It was Tyler, former trustee, Barella, myself, you, Gloria. When we were sitting there in your office talking about the budget and we were going to lower our expectations by 20%, or was it 20 or 25?
It was,
I remember.
I thought we settled on 10.
Yeah, 10.
I think it took because Molly, I think, was concerned that it was going to be higher.
25.
Yeah, and I didn't think it was going to be as high, and so I think that's where we finally settled.
It was 10% below 2019 numbers.
Yeah, and we chose 2019 because that was higher than
2019 because it was pre-pandemic.
Yeah, pre-pandemic.
And it was the highest sales tax that we had recorded prior to the pandemic.
I just wanted to make sure my notes were correct.
Okay. We did talk about 20 at one point. We talked about 15, and then I think we settled on 10 after doing the numbers.
Which is conservative, but realistic.
Yeah, hopefully.
That's a good thing. That's all I had. I was just trying to refresh my memory. And my notes from that meeting, they're all stapled together. And
now we've got it all recorded, so you can just go back to YouTube. Anything else?
I don't think so. Jim, are you going to be available tomorrow night for tomorrow night's planning commission meeting?
Yes, sir.
Awesome, because I need your support in there. Last time I got a little beat up, so.
Of course. Yes, I will.
Awesome.
Great. Well,
I do want to put it on the record that I do apologize for last Thursday night's inability to conduct that fundraiser for you.
Oh, no. That was my fault. That was too last minute. I thought that there was confusion on our end as to who was supposed to take care of that. And that was totally my fault. I appreciate all your work on that, but sorry to get off track, guys.
Nope.
You're the best. Thanks for trying on such short notice.
No problem. All right, we can conclude our finance meeting. It's 9:52 a.m.
Yeah.
I did.
Have a good day.